violence or no other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, I can still get shot by the police, but I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, cyberspace? It's a Black Gen Z mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, and let's get into the video.
7 and new details at noon. New Orleans police are investigating a deadly shooting in Gentilly. Officials say the man was found on Peoples Avenue around midnight. Police say they received a call reporting that a man had been hit by a train. After investigating, police say they discovered that the man was shot, so the case has now been classified as a homicide.
Damn. So you got a brother who was hit by a train, and the police take a closer look at his body, and it appears that he was shot, left there to die. So, you know, these super gremlins are getting a lot more crafty when it comes to getting rid of evidence. I guess they thought this was going to work. You know, in all honesty, they probably might get away with this. Okay? That's just the reality of the situation. It's like that in the community. These super gremlins are on demon time.
Anyone with any information is asked to call Crime Stoppers. You know the number. It's 822-1111.
Heartbreaking job treating children with gunshot wounds, and it weighs heavier with each young patient. Olivia Vidal spoke with the doctors on the front lines fighting to save not only the lives of these critically injured children, but also support each other while working to find solutions.
Damn. Oh man, the terror, the fear. All of this can be easily avoided. The community, unfortunately, is begging, pleading for, you know, less strict rules when it comes to these super gremlins getting arrested. As you guys can see, every time one of these guys gets in trouble, it's free my N-word, free this, free that, he ain't do nothing. And then they come back and spin the block, and now they got your daughters screaming, running in the house, running for their lives.
It's really sad to see in our neighborhood.
Everyone who has guns in their homes to protect their homes and protect their children.
99, 10 in the twin span.
We finding ourselves in multiple situations where crime and gun violence are affecting our youth.
At least 93 shot, 13 killed just this year. Juvenile victims of gun violence in New Orleans, all under the age of 18.
93 shot, 13 killed, all under the age of 18. I mean, if it ain't abortion taking us out, then it's these super gremlins on demon time.
I think particularly in infants and toddlers, it's incredibly hard, but also our teenagers are still someone's baby. They're going to be someone's baby forever.
Lives shattered.
She wasn't moving when I saw her, and that was about as much as I wanted to see.
It is heartbreaking, really, to be the person to tell a family that their kid died and that we can't do anything to fix it.
At University Medical Center and Children's Hospital, doctors like Anna McFarlane are often the first to help families cope with these tragedies. It makes the job of first responders a delicate one.
One of the challenging things about having chronic community violence is that people feel unsafe for long periods of time. Many of the children that we talk to in New Orleans are afraid to go to school, afraid to leave their home because of all of the community violence that they've witnessed.
Dr. Julie Kaplow at Children's Hospital's Grief and Trauma Center has experience with mass shooting response. In 2018, she provided trauma care in Santa Fe, Texas, following a high school shooting where a teenager shot and killed 10 people. Whether it's events like this or individual acts of violence on the streets of New Orleans, she says it's important to help kids feel safe.
To some degree, it can feel like a one-time incident, versus children who are growing up in environments where gun violence is the norm, where they are constantly on high alert.
Here they go with this gun violence stuff. If we're going to address this issue, we got to start calling it what it is. These super gremlins are on demon time.
Where they're actually saying things like, I don't know if I'm going to live to be 21.
Dr. Aaron Ruther, clinical psychologist at Oxnard Children's Hospital, says shootings can trigger strong emotional reactions for younger patients, whether they were a victim or simply just a witness.
We know that when community trauma happens, it doesn't happen to just one person. It happens to the whole family, happens to the whole community sometimes.
And the shootings drastically increasing.
And so we're seeing sort of this snowball effect of increasing violence in this city.
The numbers out of UMC alone rose from 26 shooting victims under the age of 16 in 2017 to 69 in 2021.
From 26 to 69. And I know that's some of y'all favorite number, but this is not a good statistic at all.
That's according to data out of UMC's Trauma Center. All of these doctors say they too feel the emotional weight of these tragedies.
I think it is quite jarring to see these small children coming in with sort of what we typically think of as big kid or big people problems. And there's just this disconnect that is incredibly emotional for everyone who sees it. It is still children, it is still mass violence, just on a chronic level as opposed to a sort of a one event. So it is still incredibly traumatic. As much as you can, you try to leave it at work.
For some doctors, those tough moments fuel their passion to help others in times of need.
I get that question a lot of like, oh, is it hard for you to do this every day? And actually, I don't think it is, right?
She sounds like it's almost become the norm. One could say that she has become desensitized, and obviously she loves her job and whatnot, and treating these children under the worst circumstances possible. But, I mean, a lot of people are becoming desensitized to this stuff. It's not good. That's why you guys got to share my videos, like my videos, comment on my videos, post my videos anywhere that you can on any social media platform, so we can get the word out.
I can help a family get through a difficult situation and make this very difficult part of their life a little bit easier for them. It's actually, it's a privilege to be able to do that.
Others feel the impact on their coworkers.
It is extremely difficult to process emotions around watching other people who are vulnerable get hurt. And I think one of the things that is so important to do is to recognize your own threshold for what you can tolerate hearing.
Some local doctors are turning that pain into purpose.
How can we channel our own emotions into action? How can we process our own emotions as a community of pediatricians, but also how do we channel that into the next steps of action?
Tulane University pediatrician Dr. Kim Mukherjee joined doctors across the country with the hashtag Doctors for Gun Safety, working with advocacy groups, donating to causes, writing letters to lawmakers, and speaking on the issue with other pediatricians.
As pediatricians, our job is to make sure that they stay safe, that children are able to grow and thrive and become healthy adults. And I think as pediatricians in particular, when we see children not only dying from gun violence, but also being victims of the consequences of gun violence in community, we know we have to address this because it directly impacts our patients.
She says it's about cultivating their voices as pediatricians, but also as advocates for children, as well as incorporating gun safety into conversations with families.
We know, particularly in communities like New Orleans, gun violence and trauma exposure is something that too many of our patients deal with on an everyday basis.
In the hopes of making New Orleans a safer place for some of its most vulnerable citizens, its children.
We always say that kids are our future. But we have to ensure that they have a future if we're going to really believe our words there. And it's up to all of us to make sure that happens.
Reporting, Olivia Vidal, Fox 8, Local First.
I'm here on the corner of MLK and Frederick Douglass, where a shooting just took place. And as you can see, it's a pretty rough area. So I'm basically risking my life reporting on this madness. So make sure you do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Like the video, hell, share the video. And make sure you go ahead and leave a comment down in the comments section to continue the discussion on how we can find solutions to all this son violence in the streets. I'm Jenquavius Jackson, here live, reporting from Atlanta, Georgia, BGZM News 17.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Devin Bartolotta.
And I'm Sharice Gibson. Tonight, some experts say there's a surge in young people committing crimes after several teens were arrested.
As Eleanor Tabone reports, one expert says the city needs to provide creative outlets for children and it needs to happen soon.
Eyewitness News has reported several stories about kids being arrested for crimes they allegedly committed. This week alone, there were several stories involving juveniles. Some experts say it's time accountability be taken.
They are lost in the system and no accountability.
Wednesday, 4 juveniles were arrested for a string of crimes spanning across the city, including stealing a car, committing 2 armed robberies and a shooting.
And we covered that, guys. You know, you have a surge in young kids, teens getting shot, getting killed in New Orleans. But then you also have a surge of young criminals who are teenagers. And they're doing the most. They're destroying the community. They're invading the suburbs. And they're wreaking havoc wherever they go. Like I've always said, sisters, come get your kids.
Thursday, a 20 and a 17-year-old broke into a man's house and hid from police in his closet.
What we need to do to fix it is to recognize that we have a problem.
Criminologist Dr. John Penny.
There you have it. What we need to do to fix this is recognize we have a problem. We're not even trying to do that. I mean, understand this, guys. In the community, we're not even trying to recognize that there is an issue going on.
And former professor at Southern University New Orleans says there's been a breakdown in creative outlets.
And this is from the Linda Fricky situation where the 74-year-old white woman was dismembered. There was another incident where another glider woman at Costco was dragged in her vehicle more than 12 feet, I believe. And the individual that did that, the super teen gremlin that did that, he actually caught a body and murdered an 8-year-old and now is standing trial for that crime. It's getting crazy out here.
For kids, and says youth crime is fueled by idleness and lack of supervision.
Delinquency activities will continue as long as we don't engage our young people in some wholesome activities and hold our community responsible and the parents responsible for their behavior.
Dr. Penny says the most common crime among teenagers is car theft. The most recent rash of incidents comes after years of local leaders struggling to tamp down juvenile crime.
We have to go back to...
You see him. Let's run it back. My man is hitting a lick, sagging his pants. Sagging his pants. They all pull weapons on this glider man. He's just trying to go to work. It's ridiculous.
We have to go back to holding people accountable for our young people in the community because we know that there's a graduation period in terms of graduating from juveniles to criminals if we permit this to continue in the direction that it's going.
Eleanor Tabone, Eyewitness News.
Gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away!